So thank you very much for joining us, everybody. We've got a really good group of people actually on the call, and it's a power hour, which means that we get a bit of information from the panelists and people who are actually presenting, but at the same time, we want to hear from you. We want to involve you. We want to hear the conversations that you're having, gain some expertise from you because you are living it right now, and just understand where you are, share some best practice, and get everybody just moving forward. With the title of the topic, which is how do we continue to scale through a crisis? We're going to look at the considerations and the tools for action. But just as a way of kickoff, my name is Jeremy Ambrose. If you don't know me, I'm a director at Entrepreneurial Spark. We work with entrepreneurs, intrapreneurs, anybody who will have us really to develop that entrepreneurial thinking towards innovation, towards different way of approach to common challenges, but mainly we build great people who build great businesses. That's what we do, and that's who we are. Before we go to introduce Gilletta, just a couple of housekeeping things with Zoom. The chat will be on down at the bottom, so by all means, just say hi to each other. Let's get the conversation going on that, and just chat away.
Jeremy, someone's come in. Catherine said, does anybody know what's going on? And so you might want to see if the technology is working okay.
Okay, so yeah, interesting. So the technology should be working in terms of, you should see a PowerPoint screen right now. In terms of background drums, I don't think there are, no. Not that I'm aware of, but yeah, absolutely. If you're having technical difficulties, I suggest just put yourself on mute or going off and rejoining. That's not a problem as well. But it looks like everything's okay.
Super. Sorry to interrupt you.
No, absolutely. No, that's good stuff. So this will be recorded. Another part of Zoom, so we will record it for other people. By all means, ask questions as we go. There'll be hopefully opportunities for you to get involved and bring your thoughts and feelings into the chat, or either come off mute. I will unmute everybody, and then those who don't want to speak, please remute yourself. Anyway, I think that's the housekeeping for now. Yes. So what we will do is just introduce Gilletta, because she's joined us on this, and I won't do it justice, Gilletta. So you introduce yourself. Go ahead.
Yeah, no worries. So Gilletta Broomfield, I'm actually in Costa Rica at the moment. That's where I live and work. I had an entrepreneurial start at 15 years old. Basically, my father went bankrupt, and I found myself the one that needed to go out and earn the revenue. So you can imagine I did everything and anything. And then I was persuaded to join large corporations like Hewlett-Packard and Hong Kong and Shanghai Bank, and 4 governments. I actually consulted for 4 governments, but it was never the boring stuff. It was always the emerging businesses. It was fantastic. So I worked up until 2010 with HP. I moved with HP to here from California to Costa Rica. Been all over the world living and working. Europe, Asia, North America, and Central America. I'm on my way down to South America. But I retired in 2010 and said, you know, what do I really, really like doing most? And it's coaching to impact. It's basically very similar to Entrepreneurial Spark. I really enjoy working with entrepreneurs so that they understand their why, understand their values, and then build a business that will really have an impact on the world. And that absolutely inspires me. So that's me.
Thank you very much. And there's a few words on there: coach, collaborator, and confidant. I like those. They're good. The 3 C's, Gilletta Broomfield. You also have a partner in crime, don't you? Who's
I do. And Lisa, and I screwed up with the invite this morning. Lisa is my partner, and we normally are the dynamic duo, or perhaps there are other terms for us, but that's what we do. We normally work together, and it's fantastic.
Super. Okay then. Well, let's just get into it. because the reason people are here is because that, you know, they want a few nuggets. They want to be able to move forward and start scaling through this crisis. That entrepreneurial spark, there is always one thing that comes first before anything else, and that is the mindset of the entrepreneur. So we always revert back to this. This is the roadmap for success. We are not saying that you need to do all of these things at once, at all times. What we are saying is you have to be able to know what you're great at here, what you're not so great at, what you might need help with, but be able to dial it up and dial it down at a time that meets needs of the business and you as an entrepreneurial leader at any point. So it's really important. Before we take any action, before there's any behavior, anything at all, the mindset comes first. So if you considered your mindset and you set it in the right way before you do something, then you're off to a winner to begin with. So the considerations of the mindset that we're looking at today are, I reimagine daily. I'm thinking about what could be. Definitely one to be thinking about as we go through this. The next one, if I can get my mouse in the right place, is my business has vision. So where are you going? Where do you want to get to? And think about the roadmap, the journey that you're going to get there. Not the peak of the mountain, but also what are those little steps towards the peak of that mountain. And the other one, I take action always. I said it on a number of these power hours, but inaction is going to be the killer of most businesses. You know, taking action is going to help us move forward. So yeah, and within this approach, there's different ways you can come at it, but I'm going to hand over to Gilletta, who's going to take us through the approach that they've come at it with. So Gilletta, just take us through this roadmap.
Yes, thanks very much. And so what we're going to focus on today, Jeremy and participants, is ground zero, getting your bearings. And you'll see down the bottom there on the left, really confront the brutal facts, yet never lose faith. And you'll see that we talk about the Stockdale Paradox later. Now, what you see in front of you, the 5 modules there, is what we run through with our clients. And we dip and dive wherever they are, so we can run through serially or anywhere. But you see there, first of all, get your bearings. The next thing is make sure you're doing well. Mentally, just as Jeremy had said, you've got your best entrepreneurial mindset in place, and physically. And we call it put your own oxygen mask on first. Critical. And then, and some of you'll be surprised, you may say, well, why don't we go to people next? Well, we actually believe that if you don't have any customers, then you're highly unlikely to have anyone other than yourself. So you're better in this crisis, focus immediately on your customers and understand which ones have their business going up, sideways, or off the cliff. So really slice and dice your customer base. The next thing is to safeguard your people. Again, mentally and physically. And all throughout this, get ready to emerge strong. Even if it's a completely different space or you've had to close your business, you've got to work on emerging strong. Get that good enough there, Jeremy? Any questions on that?
No, just a quick one from Catherine Kohler. She's saying that she's actually thought this was about upscaling and investment. I've gone through all these stages. Have a good webinar. She's out.
Super.
What she might miss at the end is actually the algorithm for growth, which might help her in her investment trail. But don't worry.
Don't worry. No problem.
It's not for everybody. No, I think that's great. So I mean, coming on to the next part of it. Gilletta, let's go around the room. Let's find out what. Go on, you go ahead.
No, you go ahead there, Jeremy. Yeah, so that's this is a good question.
Yeah, so what we wanted to do is actually put it out to you, the participants on this call, and just to find out how you perceive COVID-19 is affecting your business, for you personally as well as your clients, your team, your investors, but mainly, what do you fear the most, and how do you face that fear at the moment and come unstuck? So it'd be great to hear from a couple of people. What are you feeling? What's the main fear right now within those businesses of yours? And if what I will do is just take everybody off mute, and what that should do is enable everybody to mute themselves if they don't want to talk, and then come in if they do. So yeah, what's everybody thinking? What's everybody feeling? What are those fears out there right now?
Okay, well, I'm happy to tell everybody.
Cassie.
Hi everyone. I work in the tourism business in Scotland.
Yep.
I provide a very simple booking software for small B&Bs, inns and hotels. I'm in the middle of rewriting my website, which is due to launch in the summer. I suppose my fear is that people won't be able to afford my annual booking fee. That's a fear, because they might not have any money. I do charge a small commission, and I think it'll be very affordable for them, because I'm trying to save them from paying the huge commissions that all the big online travel agents charge. That's my fear.
A lot of people out there thinking about cost and how they value the business right now in terms of, do I give things away for free? How do I hold my value coming out the back of this? And, how can I get people paying full price again? There's a lot of different fears around that. So that's a good indicator. And we'll certainly come on to the cash is king part of the workshop. So thanks, Cassie. Thanks for sharing.
No problem.
What else? What else is out there? Who else?
If I could share.
Rosalind, hello, go ahead.
Hello everyone, hi. My work is quite niche. I help usually elderly patients access NHS continuing healthcare funding. Okay. Obviously with the current crisis, it's directly impacted my business because there's actually been emergency legislation which actually prevents me doing my work, and potentially for up to 2 years. So I've been kind of trying to respond to that, because I was in a really sweet spot before all this happened with, expanding the business, and it was all going really, really well. But I'd already sort of started looking at more holistic approaches to the way that I do my work. And I think there's going to be a lot of safeguarding issues coming out of this. So I think I've kind of gone in from another angle, which is what I'm trying to do. And I've got existing clients, but my main fears going forward are, number one, accessing my clients who are currently locked down in care homes. And secondly, what will the NHS look like at the end of all of this? That's my main fear, because obviously if there's any fundamental changes, it will have a huge impact on what I'm doing, basically.
Yeah, another interesting one. There's been a number of webinars or power hours that we've done before on just engaging with those customers, understanding their journey, because everybody's journey has changed significantly since we went into this crisis. And being able to engage with the customers and being able to be that first point of call when you come off the back and we come out of this is really important. But it's an interesting fear. It's certainly something you've got to look at. You've got to try and adjust as well, but understand what's actually driving that fear to then allow you to move forward. So we'll come on to a bit more info, which might help you out there, Rosalind. Thank you.
Okay. I would just say there, Jeremy, one of the companies over here is actually introducing technology, very simple technology, Rosalind, to actually get into contact with the elderly. So I don't know whether you could find a partner in the UK.
Right.
There's a lot of companies, your big companies, who actually want to help right now.
Okay. Yeah.
And they would listen to you. You know, a couple of weeks ago, they wouldn't want to hear from Rosalind Hughes.
Yeah.
Now they do, because they want to demonstrate they're supporting.
Yeah.
So I would do a quick run through. The big companies have got some simple technology that you could get out to your elderly clients.
Yeah.
Even if it's to use their lifelines.
Yeah.
And then you phone them.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think it's even for the mental health, not even if you put aside the business side of it, it's even doing something altruistic in the meantime because of their mental health and families as well. And, inviting people to be able to make contact, digitally. So yeah, that's a really good idea. Yeah.
Fantastic. Lovely.
Yeah,
one word of caution: don't get involved in the race to the bottom right now. Do not get involved in the race to the bottom. Okay, super. There's a couple of there's a couple of fears in there, and it's interesting to hear from you. We want to hear from more of you as we go through this, but I'm conscious that we want to just give you a couple of tools that you can discuss and a couple of consideration. So let's just move a bit further forward with this. Gilletta.
Yes, and this is just a slide to help people understand that facing fear is really important. And so thank you to Rosalind and Cassie and anyone else who's kind of documented. Pop it in the chat, by the way, what you fear. And you'll see that don't try to figure out why you feel afraid. That takes you probably nowhere. And don't try to rationalize yourself or someone else out of being afraid. Don't say, no, it's all going to be okay, because that doesn't work. Or try to hide it. Bring it out, tackle it head on. And so, Jeremy, we were just going to see where people are on that relaxed with no fear, chronic low-level anxiety, butterflies, tightness in the stomach, nausea, and full-on panic, which when you get there, you can't access the rational side of the brain. Maybe in the chats you can say, one, what your fear is and where you are on that spectrum. Give us your honest statement right now.
Yeah, do it. That'd be good. It'd be nice to hear from the people in that chat, and also, yeah, find out where you are on that spectrum for sure. We'll give people a couple of minutes to do that.
So what are you afraid of, Jeremy? And where are you on the spectrum?
Yeah, I was going to say, as Entrepreneurial Spark, you know, we work with entrepreneurs and intrapreneurs. But the main source of custom before we went into this crisis was intrapreneurs, larger organizations who wanted to innovate, who wanted to think differently, to act differently, and to carry on their journey. So it was, you know, I have a fear, and it's probably somewhere within butterflies and nausea, probably.
Nausea.
I have a fear that these people won't engage with us when we come off the back of this.
Okay.
And I'm trying to rationalize it, in fact, that, you know, people are still going to want to service and still want to, in fact, innovation is going to be more necessary and more needed off the back of this as well, to get people continuing what they've done differently already, but at the same time to do things differently that's going to get the consistency. So I'm somewhere in there trying to rationalize it. I'm trying to rationalize it.
Yep. What's our chat looking like?
Yeah, so we've got a couple of people coming in. Varies day to day. Today, relaxed, no fear from Debbie. That's good. Marissa coming in saying, I'm fearing that the client relationships will break down due to payment issues. Who's telling the truth and who isn't? Yeah, it's an interesting fear. And it's really difficult to deal in facts when you don't really, you don't know. And then John, feel positive about the next few months, adjusting to the market shifts, chance to test the business model, relaxed with no fear. This is good. This is good stuff.
Super. Okay. We need more. But you know, it doesn't matter where you are. I tell you, I shift across that spectrum, Jeremy.
Yeah, I think we all do, don't we? Is
a bit on the stress side.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. But where do you want to be?
Yes. So when you look back, how do you want to be seen by your family, your customers, employees, business partners, and community? And who and what will guide you? So you can see, you can stay in the fear zone, you can move out to the learning zone, and then you can go back into the growth zone where, for example, Rosalind was before. Yes, you can move there.
It is interesting because we were talking about this the other day, Jalessa, weren't we? Like, whereabouts are we within our businesses, and where were we a couple of weeks ago? I mean, a couple of weeks ago, I was getting very distracted by the news. I couldn't see the wood for the trees, and I was probably in the fear zone. But actually moved through those zones, and I'm now thinking, right, well, actually, I need to be in the learning and growth zone. I need to be somewhere in between those two to really make sure I come out the back of this in the way that I've been coming into this, and that's very much growth and scale. So just highlighting those fears and actually being truthful about what was getting in the way a couple of weeks ago was a revelation for me. And so just understanding where you are now and where you want to get to and what you want to be seen as when you come out the back of this is it's a really great question. Yeah.
I love Oz's resilient, ambitious go-getter.
Yeah.
Yay, Oz.
Yeah, exactly.
Anybody else feeling that the stress is just too much, because we want to be able to help you get through that? The learning and growth. Great, Cassie.
Yeah, Cassie's coming in. Yeah, learning and growth zone. It's a great zone. Yes, as you said, very ambitious and excited too. And it's one of the best places to be. But how do you actually do that? How do you actually stay in that growth zone? How do you carry on scaling it? Where do you start? What's the point? Yeah, interesting. Okay. So that's an interesting slide to just find out where you want to get to. So that comes into that almost visioning. You know, what do you want to be seen as? Where do you want to be? When you come out of this, what does that look like? You start setting your sights on that, and suddenly you're on the journey already towards that. So, okay. What about this one? This is interesting, Charlotte. Go on.
Oh yeah, has anyone heard about the Stockdale Paradox? Anyone heard that?
No.
No. So just Jim Collins, he popularized it in his book Good to Great. And basically what he did is he spoke to I'm going to call him, yes, he was a Vietnam prisoner of war. And he watched his comrades and came to the conclusion that there were some people who survived and some people who didn't. And it was nothing to do with the conditions of the POW camp, nothing. And so in a discussion between Collins and Stockdale, it was James Stockdale, the dialogue went along these lines. Jim asked, who didn't make it out, James? Oh, that's easy, he said, the optimists. And so Jim Collins said, what? I don't understand. I'm confused. And so Stockdale said, the optimists were always thinking we're going to be out of the camp by Christmas. Christmas would come, Christmas would go. And then they would say, we're going to be out of here by Easter. Easter would come, Easter would go. And they died of a broken heart. So he came to the conclusion that it's the realism, facing the brutal facts, yet still having that faith that you'll come out the other end strong. And that's why I showed you that journey, always knowing and having the faith that you'll come out strong. But brutal facts first. It's an incredible story, Jeremy. It's very powerful.
Yeah, it's definitely worth watching that as well. And go and put it into YouTube, Stockdale Paradox. Go and have a quick watch of that. It's quite eye-opening, but at the same time, it picks out on those two really key things. You know, retaining your faith, and you will prevail. You will get through this. And the other part is that the facing the brutal facts, acknowledging them today, being able to see the true picture of where you are, to then be able to see a way forward. I think it's brilliant, and it's definitely worth going to have a watch of, certainly on YouTube. Okay.
Super. And this is just what we've been saying, Jeremy. There are some companies that are going up. And so, for example, Rosalind, we were talking about you looking for a partner that might help you and fund some of the technology or other things you want to do. Go look. Those that are in low exposure, your telecommunications or your internet companies, and so your Microsofts and your ISPs, etc., all of those, they are good to approach to see if they would actually sponsor you, do a just cause. Then you see the others. Now this is very high level. You've got to dig deeper. How can you use this? Well, first of all, to remind you that there are businesses that are exponentially growing. Yes. Then there are the businesses that are kind of going flat. And then there's other ones that are falling off the cliff. So you want to look at your customers from that perspective. How do you really, really understand where your customers are? And the key thing is go talk to them, ask them. Yes.
Yeah, it was interesting. Again, Gilletta and I were talking the other day about, you know, the two key things that are really going to help people get through this. And they kind of follow on from your 3 C's, Gilletta. And that is communication and collaboration. You know, communicate with people who can help you out. At the same time, collaborate with them to share knowledge, value, best practice with each other, so you both come out the other side. I think this is a good slide to say, right, what areas can you pick up on to help you through this, and to help, more to the point, your customers get the value that they need from you, and the collaboration that you're going through. So I thought it was just good to put up. So thanks for that.
No problem. So this one, thinking, this is really asking us leadership to think and act across 5 horizons. And this is to ensure you emerge strong through this. And what we're focusing on in Ground Zero is resolving. That's looking at the brutal facts and resolving them. So looking at your people issues, who you may have to keep, who you may have to let go, and looking at your cash flow, looking at your agreements with your bank, looking at your service providers, who's robust, who isn't. Now, many of the companies are very small, so that won't take very long. Looking at your customers, as I said before, who's going up, who's stable, who's falling off the cliff. The next step, resilience, is really building resilience back into your strategy and your business model. What's with COVID-19, what it's doing is stressing the business models and basically telling us entrepreneurs whether our business model now works or doesn't work. Yes, and so that's what we have to look at. And then we've got to move into recovery. May not look like it before, and maybe we even have to pivot it completely. Think about Simon Sinek. All of his business came from standing on a stage, being interviewed or whatever. That has gone. He's now having to apply his existential flexibility. There's either a burglar come in called Bernardetto, or
Go on.
Yeah, and then we need to really reimagine what we're about. Even if we've recovered and we're doing pretty well, for example, Rosalind and Cassie, you might come back and it looks good, but this is the opportunity to reimagine what you're doing and why you're doing it against your core purpose and your values, and finally get into reinventing. Any questions on that?
How does it work if the whole sort of, I'm in the events and the travel, I don't know what the industry is, but basically, you know, the whole supply chain is down. So yes. I have a product that basically I keep tabs on the major events, and that's fine. So the product, you know, these are the potential customers for these people, but everything else is broken, you know, broken down. So I mean, I am talking to clients or to all sorts, you know, I'm just trying to overcome the fear, if you like, by talking to people and trying to be helpful. And then that, you know, and then from that, I maybe discover that, you know, we're all sort of waiting, almost like there's going to be a magic switch when the planes are flying again and the venues are open.
So that's really interesting, really, really interesting, because I have 2 tourism companies. One is a retreat center in Costa Rica, Dominical, and it's totally dependent on people visiting it. That was its business model 4 weeks ago. The other business is a destination travel agency. So let me first tell you about the retreat center. We've just worked with them and we're switching. They're doing complete virtualization of their programs. They brought masters to the center, the retreat center, and you know, that the yoga, etc. They are virtualizing it, and they're just about to launch. It's called Imiloa Connect. In the meantime, their cash flow has just bombed, so we had to go through conserving cash and then moving to this reimagination stage very, very fast. Same with the destination travel agency. So I think, Jeremy, if some of the people on the participants need some brainstorming, let's get them into some of the hour sessions that you have when you go individual one-on-one. Yes, because there's great reimagination that we can do.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think the other point on there is that also, you know, don't overlook that resilience stage as well, because
absolutely,
if you're not trading and there's a lot of fear going on, now's the time to actually learn what's actually getting in the way and build out that resilience for when you come back and when the industry takes off again, because there will be a boom, certainly in hospitality and certainly in that sector. What do you need to do now to make yourself future-proof within that resilience mode, and what you're learning, and document your learns, because it's absolutely fundamental to making sure that you're building in the really solid foundations for growth as you go into that reimagination stage. Yeah. Okay. I am conscious of time, and we want to get everybody doing stuff. So there's a couple more slides here, Gillette. If you could just give a quick overview of these, and then we'll get straight into the Scalerator canvas.
Absolutely.
So
go for it.
First off, cash is king. Go.
Yeah, I just want to say, if you don't focus on this immediately to conserve cash, then you will not be in business. And so just look at those 7 financial levers and do that. You can move on, Jeremy. I think everybody understands this. Conserve cash.
Yeah, definitely. Yep. And it's not just what's going out as well. There are so many places where you can actually get some income when you don't necessarily have income, and also having a look at the rates and all kinds of things.
Absolutely. Negotiate everything.
Absolutely. Okay.
Good. And then this one, basically, holistically look at the decisions that you have to make. So first of all, you are at the top, you and your leadership, make sure you're okay. If you've got a team of people working with you, make sure that you know the ones you want to keep and the ones that you have to let go because of circumstances. I said, always talk to your customers, find out where they are, find out which ones really want to keep in business, want to be loyal and keep going. And of course, your investors, if you have any investors, you've got to keep them right next to you, understanding what you're doing, and also appeal to the community. Like I said to Rosalind, go out and ask. You will be amazed what you can get. And of course, on the business priority side versus the people, you've got cash. Really look at your strategy and your business model, and then go execution, execution, execution. I put systems at the bottom because you really need technology, and you really need to understand how to maximize it and use it in this time. So if you've got spare time, get familiar with the virtual and digital products and digitalization. Yes, even if you're 60 plus, do it. Yes.
Absolutely. An interesting question from Deepak. Should we not be conserving cash in the good times and make your way through the lean times?
Yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Lean doesn't necessarily mean not spending any money as well, by the way. In lean startup, in lean methodology and thinking, it's about de-risking any spend and making sure that resource is spent in the right way that's going to help you grow. That's lean. So putting those funds and putting that cash in the right place to continue to allow you to grow. So don't think this is a lock the safe and put it all away. You know, there'll be some places where you should actually invest and should be invested, certainly, you know, in technologies, processes, where you can actually come out of this stronger. But you have to de-risk that and go through all aspects of it before you spend that cash in terms of staying lean. So yeah, an interesting consideration.
So my point really was the other way.
Just bear with me 1 second. He's put a consideration out there and a question out there as well. Should these businesses exist as ongoing concerns if they haven't done that before? I am not going to answer that. And so to you to discuss that on the chat, because we want to move forward and carry on. So one last thing from you, Gillette, certainly on this.
Yeah, very quickly. This is the opportunity to revisit your SWOT, Jeremy. That's it. And really use accidental flexibility. I recommend listening to Simon Sinek and Infinite Game. There you go.
Yeah, quite simple. It's something that we overlook as well, isn't it? Just revisit your SWOT. It's such a basic. And it's so basic, but everything will have changed and moved slightly. A lot of things are pivoted in different angles. So go back to your SWOT and just understand it and where we are right now with it. Yeah, absolutely. and it should shed some light on where you might go next. Super. Thank you, Gilletta. The next part of this power hour is coming onto this. Now, this is the Scalerator Canvas. This is something that Entrepreneurial Spark put together a few years ago while we were working with lots of different shape and size organizations, from the startups all the way through to those scale-ups. This was aimed at very much those people taking that step from growth to scale. And what you needed is an algorithm, a granular growth algorithm, which helps you just ask yourself a few questions within your business to understand where the focus needs to be to help you and continue you growing and moving forward. So I wanted to go through 3 aspects of this. The Scalerator, I'm not going to go through this, don't worry. I'll pick out the key points. The fact is there are 8 elements to the Scalerator Canvas. I will, and this is from me, you have my word, I will send a copy of the Scalerator Canvas to everybody on this call, because we have your email addresses on the Zoom sign up. Everybody will get a copy of the canvas, which has the 8 elements to the Scalerator, the canvas itself. Breaking it down, there are 70 questions. And the point of it is you answer whether you comply or you don't comply. Be realistic, be honest, get together with your teams, because it's a great team event, again, great team sport to do this, because you'll get insight from people who aren't in your head, which is important. So go through it together and understand where you are. This, off the back of that, you'll have a score, and you'll be able to see where your strong areas are and those areas that aren't so strong right now, which will give you your priority actions for each of these elements. So 70 questions. Within those 70 questions, they're broken down into these areas, and ask yourselves the questions, understand the priorities within each of those sections, and then target one of those sections to do next. Okay, so this is an algorithm, and work your way through it to get to a point where you are ready and you know you're on that kind of trajectory towards scale. When I say scale, there's lots of different definitions of scale, but I think, Gilletta, give us a one-line on the definition of scale up, probably from the Gazelle stuff.
Yeah, so it's really between startup and we call it screw up. it's you're really accelerating 20% in revenue every year. But we're now looking at we're looking at different things now, Jeremy. Yeah, but that's the definition of scaling up.
Yeah, absolutely. There's I mean, if you look at it from a kind of a top level, it's that difference between startup, growth, and then there's that extra bit which is scale up. Absolutely, exponential growth. Okay, so that's the Scalerator Canvas in a nutshell. And what we wanted to do was get you doing something on this call right now, which will help you focus on where you need to go and what you need to do next. So we picked out 3 areas. The first, obviously, being mindset of the entrepreneurial leader, because we are mindset based. So here's the first scorecard for you. So what I want you to do is just go through, I'm going to give you a couple of minutes, I'm not going to talk, go through these 10 questions and give yourself a score. Be honest, be realistic, and it will give you an idea of where you need to move forward. I'm just going to ask the question straight after. What's apparent, what's come out, what's interesting to you that you didn't know already. Okay, so go through this and just give yourself a score out of 10.
Oz is looking as if he's got a headache now.
Yes, it's hard work. Give myself a 6.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's some scores coming through already on the chat. Once you've scored yourself, by all means, put it on the chat if you want to share it.
Yeah.
and it would be good just to hear from a couple of people about, you know, what they might focus on next now that they've had the question set under the moonshot mindset. Yeah, let's hear from somebody. Go on. Why don't, because you just came in then.
Okay.
What's your considerations next on the moonshot mindset?
My considerations is, I mean, recently I've been watching a lot of YouTube channels, entrepreneurial channels, and one of the things that have come into my sort of peripheral is the work breakdown structure, whereby how I create what I do, how I can create work for other people. And that's probably one of the hardest things that I've done, because I am a one-man band, but what I do is I beatbox, and I'm a freelance beatboxer.
Oh, wow.
I do a lot of you know, stuff with educational, but I'm thinking of diversifying my beatboxing to do like a beatbox nursery rhyme album. I want to create a beatbox birthday service, and these are all different.
So wait, Buzz, out of these questions, which one do you want to focus on next? What is the bit that you didn't score yourself highly on and didn't give yourself a 1 on?
To be honest, the ones that I thought that really got me was number 9.
Okay. I can zoom out, think conceptually, connect the dots, and then zoom back in and simplify. Yeah.
Number 4 was also one. I mean, I've got goals, but I don't always break them down into, you know, palatable, easy to do tasks. And number 5 was also different for me as well.
Yeah. It's interesting when people talk about that 10x mindset and where they need to go with that. I mean, it's a common thing within Scale Up. People talk about 10x in their business, 10x in this, and 10x in that. And it might not necessarily be the right thing for people to 10x their business, but it certainly gives you an idea of where you need to go with your goals and where you want to get to. You know, if you 10x your mindset, you'll move your business forward. So what does that look like? What YouTube channels do you need to go and watch? What are those goals that you do need to set yourself? Yeah, it's interesting. What the other thing is on that chat, nobody's given themselves a 10, which is very realistic, and it's good news. Everybody will now have somewhere where they can focus within the moonshot mindset piece where they need to go next. Yeah. Okay. The next one. People. A real pertinent consideration right now. You know, Gilletta was talking about it earlier. Was your people. You know, how do you keep those people through this crisis? How do you get them working for you, and how and where will you how will you come out of this stronger? So having these considerations in place, here's your next set of questions. Where are you here? What do you need to focus on now during this crisis that's going to allow you to continue to scale up? So think about these. I'm going to give you, again, a couple of minutes. And Cassie will be sharing the whole of the Scalerator canvas for everybody who's joined us, because we have your emails from Zoom. So we'll be sharing it with everybody. You'll get the full set that you'll be able to use. Absolutely. So go ahead. Mark yourself out of 10 out of these ones. Is it 10? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yes, there is 10. Yes, there is. That's my maths. 21 to 30. Through me.
And if they haven't got people employed or contracted, Jeremy, they can think about their service providers and maybe even their dog. They've got to keep their dog going.
No, absolutely. Those one-man bands are really important when it comes to this, because actually through the questioning of where you want to get to for people might actually help you understand the next step. And bringing in those key stakeholders, investors, people who might invest time in you or any kind of resource, they can be part of your team. So you've got to consider those guys when you're doing this, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's a few scores coming through. And you've got, you know, there's a 0 on there, but whoever's put a 0, where do you want to get to with this? You know, what do you need to consider next to actually move yourself towards a 2, a 3, a 4 or a 5? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, a few more scores coming through, but it is into it is.
That's a great answer from Deepak.
Yeah. Exactly. That's what you've got to do. You've got to utilize this crisis to grow. And just asking yourself the right questions at the right time will help you do that and continue to scale during this crisis. And so we've just set out a few questions that you can be asking yourself right now. We're not saying that everybody has a load of downtime as well. We're not saying that, because actually there's a whole lot of people who are full on right now and probably have more responsibilities than they've had before. If you take that time, just an hour, 2 hours, maybe during the week, and set it aside and make sure you're focusing in on these questions, it will help you continue to grow. Okay. The final one, I'm not going to go into that too much. I just wanted to flash that up and make sure everybody's kind of thinking about this. The next one, we were talking about it earlier. Cash is king. Numbers, numbers, numbers. Mm-hmm. Now we talk about cash being king, but there are so many more numbers within your business that you have to watch, monitor, keep abreast of, and make sure that they're ticking along as well. So just have a look at this scorecard for numbers, 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 and where are you on here? There's a few scores coming through on this one. But again, this is about looking at the considerations that you need to have in place now to allow you to continue to grow. Where do you focus your time? Now, there'll be a couple of things that come out of this, because again, nobody's scoring themselves 10 out of 10 here, but there'll be a couple of things that come out of this that will give you your areas of focus. So if it's numbers, numbers, numbers that you really need to get hold of and focus on next, what is that key aspect of this? What's the key focus out of this that allows you to move forward? Once you've done that, move on to the next one. It's those little steps towards getting a 10 out of 10 on numbers, 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 which will set you up in the right direction. But it's continual growth. Okay. Super. There's some sevens coming through, which is good news. And you know, people will be at different stages on this call. But how do you take that 7 to a 10? What's the focus next? So they are the 3 areas we wanted to go through and give you a flavor of what the Scalerator Canvas looks like. As I said, everybody will get a copy of the Scalerator Canvas and go through it in your own time and just consider those key actions. What are those focuses that you need to get done next to continue moving forward within the crisis period? The main consideration that Gilletta and I will bang on about it until the cows come home is just take action. Don't be that person who puts their head in the sand and just switches off. There's so much going on around us that we need to get those areas of focus. We need to continue moving forward, keep our head up, because this is the new normal, guys. This is the new normal. Welcome to your new normal. And just create that resilience, create that tenacity, and go after what you want to go after. And by all means, take this considerations from Gilletta at the beginning. Look at those areas: cash, business priorities, people priorities. Go and watch the Stockdale
Paradox.
And what is your reality right now? Go and face those. Go face those realities. Gilletta, closing thoughts from you?
I think it's really the time to be proactive, Jeremy, and to be agile, resilient, and to look at reinventing and reimagination. That's to me, so proactive, not just even take action, it's really be proactive with that action. And your forward motion, I ride horses or attempt to, and if you don't keep a forward motion, then the darn thing will stop. Yes.
It's so true. Absolutely. Take action, move forward. Yeah. And just to close out, let's just hear from a couple of people. There's been quite a lot. We've kind of fast-tracked through today just to give you kind of a fast-paced. It is a power hour. We've thrown a load of stuff at you. Where are you now? What are you thinking now? What are your next steps? And what are you going to commit to on this call to everybody else?
Yes.
Done in the next couple of weeks, because accountability, as well as cash, accountability is king too. So what are you going to do in the next couple of weeks? And then what are you going to commit to in front of all these people that are on this Zoom call right now? Somebody come in and say.
Oh, super. Look at the lovely messages coming through, Jeremy.
Yeah, great. Thank you, Marissa. Deepak, sales and more sales, or any sales at all, move forward. Yeah. Go and have a look at the customer section of the Scale Race Canvas when I send it over to you, Deepak, because
well done, Cassie.
Yeah, it'll give you some consideration, some good questions to ask yourself. Rosalind, thank you.
Thank you.
Go and
thank you for your help.
No problem at all. Yeah, definitely go and explore that tip from Gillette.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's been brilliant. Really, really helpful.
Cassie, I've got some ideas for you, but we can talk later or another time, yeah?
Fantastic. Thank you, Gietta. That's really kind. I will link with you on LinkedIn.
Please do. Please do. Jeremy, you're going to save the chat, aren't you?
Yeah, the chat's saved. It's recorded, so we'll have a copy of that anyway. I'll come out with a follow-up. And Gillette, are you happy for people to contact you on LinkedIn and you know?
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, no problem at all. And I'll keep you connected with it as well, Jeremy, so that you know your tribe is working hard.
Absolutely, it's about going where your tribe is. Absolutely, I love that. Yeah, go find your tribes, guys, and if this is one of them, stay with us, keep listening, keep tuning into these, and just get that step change that makes you move forward at a time of crisis. So thank you so much to everybody who's been on. We look forward to seeing you on the next one.
Okay, when is the next one?
Every Thursday. Every Thursday at 2 p.m.
Okay.
And they're going to be different topics of conversation, but all canvassed through the survey that we've got out on social right now that came through our newsletter. And that just gives us a steer of what everybody's thinking out there. It's not what we're thinking, it's what you're thinking. And that's going to give us our next topic of conversation. So be in touch and be part of it. Be part of the conversation. All right.
Thank you so much. Stay safe, everyone.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye. Bye.
How do I stop that?